few days ago, I sat down and recorded a video, which you're not going to see because I've deleted that video. Now, here's why. The video I recorded was on where do composers get inspiration from. Basically, I was going to be talking about all the different places and resources composers need to be able to draw from into their compositions. And the more I sat and thought about the video I recorded, the more I realized it wasn't quite the direction I wanted to go. And as I'm sitting and thinking, I just thinking about inspiration, I get inspired. So instead of talking about the vagaries, the abstract ideas of composition or inspiration, I'm going to talk about the concrete and how I have kind of got inspiration for a new piece in the last few days. And this one might be a big journey. In fact, if it's the piece I think it is, it's going to be a very big journey. So one of the things I talked about in that deleted video now is that a composer needs to draw inspiration from everywhere. You can see my wonderful library behind me. This is only just a part of it. I have a whole second room with bookshelves in it as well. But the composer needs experience and the composer needs struggle. And those, for me, I think are really the two driving factors of inspiration. What have you done and what have you struggled against? And as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about what have I done? And, well, I've had lots of experiences. I've written about some of them. I've thought about them, and which of those experiences are musical? And I thought back to a few years ago. I'm an avid bird watcher. I love going out and finding and seeing new species of birds. And for a bird watcher, there are certain places in the U.S. that we go, and it really is an adventure to try and see just even one particular little species. And I started thinking about my second trip to see a bird called the Kalima warbler. It's only found in one little region in the Big Bend area in West Texas. And I started thinking about this trip, and I was just thinking how absolutely magical the second trip I took there was. The first trip was a complete fiasco where I got altitude sickness and dehydration. Don't do that. But the second trip was something absolutely almost miraculous in vision. And so I started thinking, man, there is music in this. And just thinking about all the sights and sounds and just feelings. It's like, oh, there's a piece of music here. And I started thinking about this, and you know it's going to be a good idea when it keeps you up at night. When you're starting to hear sounds in your head as you're falling to sleep. And I was hearing this, and I was like, yep, I gotta go down that path. And so I just kind of been toying with the idea in my head the last few days, just thinking. A lot of times composition is simply that, just sitting and thinking, pondering, letting your mind wander. And I sat down yesterday in a coffee shop, drinking my coffee, getting my caffeine on, and I started just sketching out some notes. And I'm sure you can't see that on there, but it's basically just a program outline for the next piece. And as I started writing it down, everything really started clicking into place, unlike lots of other pieces I've done. And lo and behold, I realized I've got 12 independent sections here. This is going to be a big piece. If I do this, there's a big word that I put with it. And I realize that I've got the inspiration now for Symphony number 3. And that's going to be a fascinating journey. And if there's at all interest, I'd like to document the whole process of writing a new symphony. Symphony is much, much more difficult than the process you saw a few weeks ago where I did just that short piece, Flower Moon. A symphony is so much more complex, and I've got the ideas. I think I can almost hear the whole piece in my head. That's an interesting and scary place to be in, when you can hear a piece of music that doesn't exist yet. And that's one of the most exciting things about being a composer, is you hear music that doesn't exist. And it's like, I need to bring this into the world. And so I think that instead of doing a video on the abstract, where does creation and inspiration come from, let's just show you. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to be doing maybe a daily video vlog on the whole process of starting a new symphony. This should be exciting.